All right, guys, welcome to a very special episode of Grapes and Dates. We have with us a panel of strong women because, this week is Women's Day slash week slash month slash year. And we're going to talk a little bit about feminism and what it means to everyone. And I'm going to start out by giving a definition from the Google machine. Feminism is a noun, and it is the advocacy of women's rights on a basis of the equality of the sexes. And I mean, that says it all. And then I'm going to give you a little quote from one of my powerhouse women that I've always admired. Rest in peace, RBG. Women's rights are an essential part of the overall human rights agenda, trained on the equal dignity and ability to live in freedom all people should enjoy. So let's start this off by introducing our panel. Obviously, as always, I have my wonderful co-host and best friend, Cassy.
Hi. You're used to hearing from my ass.
We have our friend Jenny in the house.
Hello.
We have Angelina, who is Cassy's burlesque mom, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
See?
Hello.
And then we have Heather, who is one of Cassy's dear friends.
Hi.
So let's start this off with a simple one. What does feminism mean to you guys? All right, so Angelina, what does feminism mean to you?
To me, it is the concept that women are people. That we are not commodities, that we're not lesser or more, we're just people. And we're autonomous and we have our own lives. And yeah, I don't know how much more to elaborate on that. We're people.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. And Cassy, you're up.
For me, it's not like some people take this like pieces of it. It's not just equality but of finance. It's not just equality in the workplace. It's pink tax. It's having to pay so much money for period products. And Scotland, I believe, now gives period products to all women for free. They just passed, which is interesting. And it's just making sure that women aren't less anymore. We get our place in the world because we are our own independent human beings, kind of what Angelina said. So
Absolutely. And Heather is next in the alphabetical order.
Okay, so I agree with the other two, definitely. And I think that it also means that we're more than just sex objects, like we're more than just reproductive organs, which I feel like we're also looked at. And we're not lesser human beings. Like, ugh, that annoys the crap out of me. That we're worth it, that we're not less than anybody else, and that we're not terrible people for doing what we want with our bodies, like it's our bodies and we need a right to say I can do what I want with it. Someone wants to do, we have bodily autonomy. Let us keep it.
agreed.
Absolutely. And that was really well said. And snaps for that, for sure. And last but certainly not least, the incomparable Jenny.
Oh, don't say that, because that now I'm stressed. So I love the whole we're not sex objects things, because it's not. And it's also, I think feminism, something that we forget, isn't just the ability to be empowered. While I have the right to choose how I want to use my body, I don't want to be a mother. Oh my God, do I not want to be a mother? But that doesn't make it wrong for the people who do. I think that there's this false misconception that feminism means that we hate men and we hate children and we hate what has been seen as the contemporary. I think feminism is appreciating women of all walks of life, of all races, creeds, ethnicities, whether they choose to be super modest or just flaunt what God gave them. I think there needs to be an appreciation across the board. And I think if we don't count women in these different categories, disabled women, women of color, all of these different things, I think our feminism isn't real feminism. I am a firm believer and proponent of intersectionality. So for me, feminism is every woman, even if you were not genetically born with that chromosome and you identify as a woman, you are a woman and you are valid because of that. Yeah.
All right, well said. And thank you for representing some trans brothers and sisters in there. I know you are not trans, but you do represent the LGBTQ community. So thank you for that. So a little bit about a rose and thorn of a feminism, aka like something you like, something you hate. And that could be anything that comes to your mind. So this is all about honesty. So speak your truth. Obviously, we're starting with Angelina.
Okay, so I think tying back to what I said before about women are people, I think that it is human nature for some people to just be assholes. So I think some people, and Jenny touched on this, that it's not hating men, it's hating the patriarchy, but it's not hating men. But I think some people, because some people are just trash, take it too far. And maybe they do take it to like a hatred for somebody who doesn't deserve it. Or you get so wrapped up in it, you forget like the actual people being affected. So I would say like that's like the negative side of it. But do you want the positive side of it too? Or is that we already kind of...
Yeah, go for it. Whatever you like, dislike. This is your platform. Go for it.
Normally I'm very like, motor mouth, but right now I'm like, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I mean, all the good stuff, I mean, is obvious, I think, the extra talents and perspectives that women, all women bring to the table. That's what's valuable. Not just living your life one way, the way that the patriarchal culture has the paradigm that we've lived with for centuries, finally breaking free of that. And that's what's beautiful about it. You can live your life however you want. You can be a woman who is a homemaker. You could be a woman who is a sex worker. You could be a woman who's anything, because you're a person. And that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely. That was very well said. Cassy?
I think Angelina kind of touched on what I was going to go for, because I think like the super radical side of feminism, that's like, and also people who are TERFs is a bad side of feminism. People who exclude trans individuals and people who identify as women that may not have been born that way. I think TERFs are probably the worst side of feminism. And obviously the best parts is we're banding together and kind of trying to bring out the best in everybody who is and identifies as a woman. And it's support that women haven't had for a very long time from each other, because as children, even like when I was younger, women were taught to tear other women down, and now we're coming together and we're like standing as one, and I think that's beautiful.
And I think what you just said was beautiful, and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm like choking up a little bit. So Heather, your rose and thorn of feminism.
Okay, so I'm definitely in agreement with the other two, because like the people who take it too far, like the men haters and things like that, like they're definitely the worst side. But every movement's gonna have a hater, no matter what. So that's the worst. Is like, we hate men, like we want to destroy men. Like, no, we don't. Let's just build each other up. What I love about it is that it's not just empowering to women. It's empowering to everybody. Like every person who identifies as a feminist that I know, they're also building up men. They're building up everybody. It doesn't matter like what they identify as, if they're gender fluid, whatever. Like we have that whole body positivity going on. So it doesn't matter if you're thick, skinny, whatever. Love your body and love yourself. And I feel like that's a huge message that gets like overlooked with this, is like everybody should love themselves, because like we are how we made. Like that's just who we are, So like love yourself no matter what you are, male, female, gender fluid, non-gendered, like whatever, like love yourself. So that's my favorite part about it. So
Absolutely. Everything's about equality. It's not about, raising someone above someone else. It's about bringing everyone to the same level.
Men benefit from feminism too.
Oh yeah. Like the definition said, it's about the equality of the sexes. And that's what I think everyone should be fighting for, regardless of anything about you. Jenny, your rose and thorn.
So I honestly, when you invited me to this, the first quote that stuck out in my mind is something that I think really encapsulates the rose and the thorn. I don't know if you guys remember when Emma Watson was being interviewed, I think a few years ago, for Beauty and the Beast, and someone gave her shit for having a chest. And they were giving her a hard time because, like, how can you say you're a feminist when you're flaunting your body, when you're doing this, when you're doing that? And she said, and I think this is so perfect, feminism is not a stick with which to beat other women with. It's about freedom, it's about liberation, and it's about equality. I think so often people assume that feminism means, it's like what Heather said, like we need to beat each other down. It's like what Cassy said, we were taught from a very young age to, I'm not like other girls and that's a good thing. Versus just like, it's okay to be who you are and be like other girls. I think feminism has almost become a term that becomes its own enemy because people have already built up these misconceptions in their own head. So when I tell people that I'm a feminist, I must hate women who flaunt their bodies. I must hate women who are homemakers. I must hate men. What must I think about my husband if I'm a feminist? I mean, let me tell you, Pete does the dishes. He cooks dinner. He does the laundry. I drink beer and watch Netflix. Like, if that's not a better, like, representation of, like, how my life is not what a feminist might assume of is, I mean, I lost it. You guys know what I'm trying to say, and I apologize. But feminism is just, it's equality. It's respecting each other regardless of gender roles or gender norms. It's just, it's respect. And that goes so unsaid and unnoticed.
Absolutely agree with you. 110%. All right. So the next question we have is, who is a strong woman or some women that you look up to as a feminist icon or someone you like to model yourself after? Angelina?
This one was a tough question for me because I've never really had heroes. I know, like, that sounds like I never had a hero, because we're all just people. But like, what did pop into my head, I'm a big fan of wrestling, WWE. And so I was very inspired and admire the women in WWE. I don't know if anybody follows it or familiar with it at all. See Jenny nodding. Yep. So for the longest time, well, obviously wrestling is still a man's game, or that's arguable. But for a long time, it was a man's game, and women were only there, like they called it the Divas Championship, and basically you were out there in a bra and panty matches, slapping, But a couple of years ago, they had a big revolution where now, first off, they ditched the term divas, and now it's just women's wrestling. And these bitches are tough, and they can really do like all the same. Like, it's actually better and more interesting and more exciting than the men's matches. And I remember when they were switching it over, I almost started crying because here they are, just, they're really doing it. It's not just about being an object, being the eye candy, it's so inclusive now. And they have, women of color and big women and muscular women and petite little women. And it's awesome. And it admires me. I mean, I'm not a really, what would you call, like, aggressive person where I'm going to try and fight or wrestle anybody. But, it is inspiring when you see these like muscular women. I'm like, yeah, get it, girl.
Can I just interject for 1 minute and ask a question? Did you watch Glow on Netflix?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I loved the acting of it all, of the realizing that we are here to perform a show and the technicalities of it. And you're right, seeing women of different body types and different backgrounds. I'm so mad that it didn't get a 4th season.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, you just immediately reminded me of Glow, and that's what got me into women's wrestling. So
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't watch Glow when it was actually like on TV, like the original Glow in the 80s. I was a baby. But
yeah, same.
they were pioneers if you think about it. You know, like they were actually learning the moves and how to be performers, and yeah, love it. Who's your favorite wrestler? Like, do you watch WWE?
I haven't recently because I work retail and I haven't had a chance to like sit in front of the TV. But I know in the day I grew up like idolizing China.
Yeah.
Like she was such a strong role model. Yeah, because like she was beautiful, she was strong, she didn't take anyone's shit. I was like, she is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I idolized her so much.
I loved China, and I loved when they did a wrestling match and she beat the crap out of one of the guy wrestlers. I don't remember what his name was, but she literally, it was like a 10-second match or something. Like she just knocked his ass out. And then like 2 months later, it was like in Playboy, like, I'm still a beautiful woman, even though I'm a badass. Like, I loved her. I lived for her.
Yes. Rest in peace, China.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot she passed away. Cassy, your role model?
I guess I have a couple for this one, and this is going to sound sappy and silly, but part of it, one person that I look to right now as a feminist icon is Lizzo. I know that sounds very cliche, but she is an empowered, plus-size Black woman fucking killing it. And that's something that really inspires me. But also when I got into burlesque, and Jen Dorian and Masso and Robin really just kind of like helped me find like my own empowerment in my sexuality again. And that was also really awesome.
All right. Heather, you're up, I guess.
Okay. My like main source of inspiration is my great grandmother. She was a flapper in like the 20s and stuff. She was very, very much love yourself, love your body, do what you want to do that makes you happy. It doesn't matter what people say or think. Like if it makes you happy, who cares? Just do it. She left a different country to be with the man she loved. Like she did whatever she wanted whenever she wanted. Like she taught me from a really young age. Like she passed when I was around 6, but she taught me from a really young age, be your authentic self and don't explain yourself to anybody. Just be whoever you want to be and love yourself. So like she was definitely like the strongest person I think I ever knew. So yeah, my great grandma.
I love that. Your great grandma sounds awesome. And Jenny, is your feminist icon?
I mean, you know who I'm gonna say.
I know.
You absolutely know who I'm going to say. It's Leslie Knope, okay? It's Leslie Knope, like through and through. Like, oh my God, I love her, okay? And like by extension, like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey and women who showed us that it's okay to like be really passionate about what you love and to be optimistic and to like want to reach for the stars and build your friends up. And like I celebrate Valentine's Day every fucking year. Oh my God, like I love Leslie Knope so much, and she has shown me like that it's okay to be the upbeat one in my friends group, but it's also okay to ask for help. You know, I remember an episode after she lost the recall, spoilers, the show's been out for a long time, and she was just an absolute mess, and Anne and Ben tag teamed it so well and brought her back up and saw her potential. And I was like, you know what, if she can fall and she can get back on her feet, then so can I. And I love her.
I also love Leslie Knope, and yeah, she's the best. But I do love that you chose kind of like a fictional character. I love you, Jenny.
I
Even though
mean, you
she's
didn't
fictional, she was still
specify.
written by a
I know I
woman.
didn't. I 100% agree that Leslie Knope is a great feminist icon, but it's just
And the thing is, like, if I were to choose a real person, I mean, it's Jenna Marbles. Like, hands down, it's Jenna Marbles. Like, I remember in college, she was the one who taught us like how to deal with like creepy guys hitting on us. And she's always been so authentic and always been so herself. Like, I mean, you remember watching her videos together, like in the Solar Lounge, laughing our asses off at how real and how genuine and how funny she was. Like, I miss her so much on YouTube. I miss her presence on a daily basis.
she was
Jenna
like
Marbles is amazing.
she was a beacon of light, and I'm so sad that that is no longer the case.
Yeah,
it
it really kills me. It kills me that she canceled herself, but at the same time, it shows me the amount of integrity that she has. The fact that she's like, okay, guys, maybe I did some things that weren't all right. You know, they were acceptable once upon a time, but they're not now. And the fact that she has that level of accountability is all the more reason to admire her, I think.
Side note, I actually saw her in person one day when I went to LA. I was in the Glendale Galleria, and she was in line. Her and Julian were in line at the cupcake stand, like
You saw
not
Julian?
far from me. I did, yeah.
He's my favorite Jew.
Yeah, no, but I
For
was
the record, I can say that.
I was too afraid to like talk to her because I didn't want to be like that creepy weirdo.
She would have loved it. She's so, oh my God.
But I cried for like an hour.
Yes. Oh.
I cried for like an hour. Pat can attest, he was with me.
All right. The next one is, what would you say to your younger self if you had the chance?
Oh Lord. Well, in the scope of feminism that we're talking about, I would definitely like go back and scold my teenage self for being very like, I'm different than other girls. You know, I'm cool. I can hang out with the guys. I want to be the only girl in this group of guys. I'm the cool girl, you know. I would definitely want to kind of gently smack some sense into myself, because now I have mostly female friends actually, and I feel like it's so much stronger and so much more positive. I still love my men's though, but I'm surrounded by much more women now. But I mean, just in general, I would tell my younger self. I might be a few years older than a couple of you, and even back when I was like a teenager, like there was still like nobody talked about like anxiety and depression and stuff like that. I feel like it's been like pretty recent that, and I've pretty much had anxiety my entire life. And in the last like couple years, I finally started treating it like at 35. So I would definitely have told my younger self, like, it's okay. Like if I was having feelings about like questioning my sexuality and feelings about like, you know, maybe the way my brain works isn't, you know, normal and I just need to have more willpower to fix it, you know, things like that. I would definitely go back and tell her that.
All right, Cassy.
Okay, for me, I mean, I 100% agree with the whole like not like the other girls narrative, because I was like that too. I was like, I'm not like the other girls. Although to be fair, I came out as bisexual when I was probably 13. And even back then, it was still really fucking taboo. But I would literally tell her, like, you don't need to be someone else, because after high school, I went through a phase of losing my identity. And I just wanted to be like all the other girls because I wasn't getting attention from boys or anybody else. So I was like, let me just change everything about myself and be someone else. So I kind of go slap the shit out of my like 21-year-old to 24-year-old self and say, get a grip, be yourself, love yourself, and just do what you want to do. And I probably would have, you know, sought out like burlesque and modeling a lot sooner, back before I gained
Same.
weight, and back before I like really went through my self-love journey, because I had to, because I was like, you know what, I'm not skinny anymore, I'm not this anymore, but that's okay. And that's something I'm still telling myself now. So definitely just don't lose who you are just so other people like you.
For the record, you're an absolute delight when I knew you in college. I mean, I remember being really intimidated by you the first time I saw you, because I had met Billy first, and I was like, oh, there's this mean girl with him. But like, you were an absolute delight. So like, don't knock yourself, because you were amazing back then, and you taught me that it's okay to enjoy dress up. Like, thank you for that.
My love of dress up definitely helped with burlesque. I love to dress up. But no, I get that from a lot of people, that I'm very intimidating at first, and I don't mean to be, but I just have like, I don't know, I
You have
come off.
RBF.
I do. I have resting bitch face really bad, and it takes me a hot minute to open up to people too, because I just get nervous around people in general.
I have resting tell me your life story face.
I used to at some point in my life, because people just walk up to me and like ask me for directions or ask me for whatever it may be, and I'm like, do I look friendly?
It's because
I'm
they know
not.
that the goth girl is usually the nice one. Like, we're usually the ones who are happy to take a minute out of our day to point you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But Cassy, while you're slapping your 21-year-old self, can you also, by proxy, slap the shit out of 21-year-old me? Because we're probably together anyway, and we made some stupid decisions.
Oh, us never.
Never. All right, Heather, if you can go to your younger self and tell her something, what would you say?
Okay. I would say that it gets better, that pain and everything, it doesn't last forever. I would also tell myself to not listen to the doctor and do not try birth control, because that messed me up. And I would just tell myself to be more forgiving with myself and not be so hard on myself, and that you don't have to be perfect to be liked and to be loved, and that nothing lasts forever. And to be more accepting and loving of just like myself and those around me, and to not trust these hoes. But it's another one.
Ain't that the truth?
I will say that, Cassy, you did intimidate the shit out of me when I first met you. I'm not gonna lie.
I do that to everybody. I don't know. I don't mean to, but I'm very like quiet, and I have resting bitch face, so that intimidates people.
It's okay. I was like 15 years old at the boardwalk.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were friends. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But
I'm a lot nicer than people make me out to be, I swear.
you really are. So I love that. But yeah, I think that's like the gist of what I need to say to myself, I think. So
Awesome. And what we're learning is that Cassy is very intimidating at first. And Jenny, what are you telling to little Jenny?
First telling her to hang on, because I think my wife is home and Stinky's gonna freak out. But if we're talking about, yeah, there she goes. I apologize. My Chihuahua thinks she's a Doberman.
Don't they all?
So if I'm looking at past Jenny, Cassy and John, you know my story of from 15 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to skip over those years and go with Jenny, fresh out of the facility, setting foot into college. I'm going to tell her, one, go the fuck to class.
Girl, same.
Oh my God.
Tell us all.
Go the fuck to class.
This again, can you also by proxy tell me that
I will
me.
set the shit out of all of us in the lounge together. Okay. I would also tell her, you don't need that boy's approval. You don't need to sit on his lap while he plays Magic the fucking Gathering. Oh, could you turn Sheila off? I'm sorry, I'm in a Zoom. I think so. I left my lights on. But I would tell her, you don't need that boy's approval. Get off his lap, go to your classes. Your future is more important than his approval.
Amen, girlfriend, because I did that too.
Right. Like, how much of our future did we sacrifice just to accept, to be accepted, just to hit the bare minimum, you know? Like, I'm 32 years old without a college degree, and I blame a lot of that on the fact that I was so like obsessed with what these boys thought of me. And who cares? I don't talk to any of them anymore. So I would say, like, value your education above anything else, and these boys can wait.
I think that's a great point, because I feel
I'm gonna go turn off my lights. I'll be right back.
I feel like everyone, I mean, I know I did that. I wanted boys' approval more than I wanted an education. I mean,
Ain't that the fucking truth? I fucked myself
jump
out.
in with
Yeah,
an
go
anecdote?
for it.
Yeah, I definitely 100% did that. I do have a bachelor's degree, and I was realizing that in New Jersey, a bachelor's degree doesn't really get you that far. So in my early mid-20s, I was thinking about going to grad school. But then I had it in my head like, oh, well, what if I decide to get married and have a kid? And then I'm going to interrupt grad school and da da da. And at the time, my ex-husband, he was kind of like dangling the carrot of having a family. So I pretty much was just like following this bullshit carrot. And I never went to grad school. And, you know, how would my life be different if I had like a master's degree in biology instead of my bachelor's? I mean, I'm doing okay for myself, but that is definitely a way that I sacrificed my career and my education because I was just waiting for this schmuck to come around and say like, oh, let's have a family.
Yeah, my shitty relationship. I was going to go to Institute of Audio Research up in New York City, and he came on a college tour with me and realized I would have to live in New York to go there. And he pretty much talked me out of doing it, and I regret it wholeheartedly.
Fuck that. Mm-hmm.
Cassy, were you around during Ryan?
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
You were at your
Another
divorce
thing I
party?
would tell myself.
We were at your divorce party.
You were at my divorce party. Yeah. If I had gone to classes and if I had, because the whole reason I met him was I ditched class to go to Brookdale. I ditched OCC to go to Brookdale. And at first I thought he was Zombie Mike. I don't know if you remember him or not. He's from the LARP circle. It's okay. If it's like what you said, because my ex-husband was like, you know, hey, we'll have a kid, we'll have a family, we'll live this white picket fence. And like, I bought it. I fucking bought it because, you know, we just want that idealized image. But yeah. I can tell you right now, if I had a kid, I would not be in my own house right now with the animals that I love more than anything in the world, with the partners that I love more than anything in the world. Like, it just would not happen. Yeah.
That's awesome. You found where you're supposed to be.
I really did.
Yeah. Oh no, my phone went off. All right. If you could pass any law to bolster women and women's rights, what would it be? And why?
Oh,
Angelina.
I'm not really sure on this one.
That's fine too.
I think I'm good. Yeah. To be honest, I'm not really sure on this one, so I'll definitely defer to one of you.
Pass the mic.
Sorry.
All good. Cassy, any?
So there's a couple that came to my mind. One, make spousal rape and rape in general way harsher laws. Spousal rape is a real thing, and it's just as damaging, if not more damaging. 2, make sex work legal. Because that...
There we go. Okay. Yep.
Because that benefits no one but men, because men benefit from sex work being illegal, because then there's the pimps and people that are taking money from sex workers, and we don't get the benefits, we don't get anything else from doing it. So that would be the two things that I would really try and make harsher and less harsh. So
All right, Heather, any laws that you would pass?
So I definitely agree with Cassy. And another one is that they should pass a law to where the government in every state should stay the fuck out of our bodies. Like, we need full bodily autonomy. I don't want anybody saying what I can and cannot do with my reproductive organs. That's definitely like number one. Stay out of my uterus, you know? And there definitely needs to be harsher penalties on rape. And they need to do something about, I don't know if they can like even pass a law about it, but they need to do something about canceling rape culture, because even police do it. Like, when I was in that situation and I went to the police, they laughed at me and was like, what were you wearing? Like,
I didn't even go to the cops. I just want to do this as a show of hands. Out of all four of us, who of us has experienced some form of sexual assault? All five of us. Men benefit from feminism too. Men benefit from harsher rape laws. They benefit from the bodily autonomy laws. Not all men want children either. So, like, me and my partner both don't. People who do, that's all. But it's also making IVF more available. It's making pregnancy alternatives less expensive for women who it's harder for them to get pregnant.
That's me. Maybe making adoption more accessible, you know, definitely. IVF is 20 grand. I'm very lucky that I have health insurance, but that's my privilege that I have that. So if you're an underprivileged uterus owner and you want to have a child via IVF, you get to like take out like a mortgage. It's ridiculous.
But also there are health insurances that refuse to cover IVF. Anything that has to do with fertility, they're like,
Or birth
I'm
control.
very lucky.
Yeah.
I'm very privileged in that aspect that my insurance does. But yeah, you're correct. There's a lot that are like, no, we're not paying for birth control or any of that stuff.
I mean, like, honestly, as if I had started at my job a few years before I did, they wouldn't have even covered my husband because we're a gay couple. Because the original CEO of the company was like a super conservative Republican, and it was just like, no, they wouldn't have done it. But then when the new CEO took over, he was like, no, we're going to cover everyone. Like, he's a super liberal guy and he's like really cool. But yeah, it's ridiculous, the things that they could just be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I think we're at Jenny, right?
So everyone kind of touched on it. My whole thing is, we can enact any laws that we want. That doesn't change the fact that the culture needs to change. I can tell you that it's illegal to do X, Y, and Z, but that doesn't mean that you're going to stop doing it. Case in point, look at discrimination laws. You know, they say that you can't elect to not hire somebody because their name is a little bit ethnic, but you can find other reasons on their resume not to hire them. That being said, I think that we need to do more as a society to improve upon our culture, upon acceptance of women and non-binary presenting people as equal. I think, while I don't believe that we should not see gender, I think gender is very important. I think that there needs to be less in the way of discrimination and less in the way of just judgment. I know that myself as a woman, I work in the tech industry. I have to prove myself twice as hard as my male coworkers. And even though there are anti-discrimination laws in place, even though there are measures to ensure that I am on equal footing, we still have customers coming into the store who only want to work with a man. We still have people who will undercut my word because of something a male coworker has said. If there were any law that I would put into place, it would be a law on education. a law that starts at a very young age that says in school, in kindergarten, we need to teach these children that these kinds of prejudices and these kinds of judgments in general are just not okay. That Sally doesn't get less than Billy because she has, she's a woman.
She has a
That
vagina.
they earned. Right. Well, not even, because let's say Billy decides a few years down the road that he's really a Joanna. Okay, fine. Then Joanna is just as equal and just as valid as Susie. We need to start at a very young level educating children on how it is not okay to judge somebody based on their gender identity. So that's the law that I would pass. And I'm sorry it took me forever to get there, but that's my thought process.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying in that part of it is laws and part of it is the culture change. Like, there's no law against being an asshole, but that's what needs to change. Like, on paper, things are pretty equal, on paper, but it's the culture, it's people's mindset that has to change.
Agreed.
Right. And
That's the hard
like
work.
even today at work, it was myself and the only other woman in my store. I work in a cell phone store. Okay. So we deal with a lot of different people. And we had people who wanted to wait until tomorrow when a man was scheduled. And it's just, we went through the same training as them. We've been in the industry just as long. Why is my knowledge less valued just because, I happen to be a woman?
Oh yeah.
It's not right.
It's like that even where I work in tax, and some people just don't want to talk to me because I'm a woman. Let's stop teaching women what they need to do to avoid to get raped, what we need to do to protect ourselves, and stop teaching boys not to fucking rape.
I agree.
I'm tired of having to carry my keys in my hands at night if I'm walking by myself. I'm tired of these anti-rape inventions that we keep having to come up with because the culture around it is fucked.
I don't know if you've seen the hair clip that I've been fidgeting with. It's a fucking blade. This should not be a part of my daily accessory at all.
One of my good friends who she's a very, very forward-thinking young woman, and she's a mother of boys, and both of her boys have t-shirts that say "Boys will be boys," and then it's crossed out and it says "Boys will be decent human beings." And like, I just know that these kids are going to be raised in such a way that they're going to be so protective of their little sisters that they're going to be the next generation. And I really hope that this happens to a lot of the next generation, is that they are taught by their parents, who is our generation essentially, to bolster everyone and not just
and not just their little sisters, but their little sisters in human race kind of way too. Definitely.
Kind of, I'm sorry. Just building on that, I have a coworker who has 2 boys, and I think something else that we need to consider is this toxic image of fathers owning their daughters, of dad waiting there by the front door with a shotgun because, my friend's son is taking his daughter to prom. I think that's definitely a part of the problem, is assuming that these other boys are the enemy. Because if they're taught right from a young age, respect and consent, and not just that no means no, but that nothing other than an emphatic yes means yes. That's such a huge problem.
If it's an intoxicated yes.
I was sitting in the cafeteria at HAC out here, Harrisburg Area Community College. I have no problem putting them on blast with this. I'm sitting at a table with this kid who was part of our exchange program. And these 3 other guys came up and they sat down at the table. And I just remember them telling him all this toxic nonsense. And the thing that stuck out the most to me, one of them goes, 100 no's doesn't mean anything. That 1 yes means a yes. And it destroyed me on the spot. I think that men know how other men think. And I'm using ample air quotes on that because it's not always the case. So if men know this and they're ready at the front door with a shotgun to welcome their daughter's date, what does that say about how they view other men and how they have not taught other boys how to treat women?
And I'm gonna go on a limb too and say, like, mommy issues is not an excuse. My partner has a lot of issues with his mother, but he still treats me with the most respect I've ever gotten from a man in my life. Mommy issues is not an excuse. You can learn how to respect women. Just like daddy issues isn't an excuse to be an asshole to men either.
Right. We're all adults. You know, we all have damage. You work on it. You try to be a better person, you know?
Just try not to be a shitty human being to begin with. Like,
Right. How hard
honestly,
is that?
like,
Apparently it's pretty hard.
apparently for these guys out here, these fucking straight guys.
I was just waiting.
I love it. We are shady cunts on this podcast. Thank you very much. If
I
you're
wish we were, like,
watching,
right next to
you'll
each other on my
know.
screen.
If you're watching, you'll see it. We are shady cunts here.
Sorry.
And I mean, like, to kind of bounce off what Jenny was saying, to the guy who's holding his shotgun outside of his house, shouldn't you kind of maybe think like, hey, maybe instead of assuming the worst in this guy, I should sit down and talk to him and find out if he's a decent person. And if he's not a decent person, you know,
Then you get the shotgun.
Yeah, then you get the shotgun. Don't just assume that everyone's going to be an asshole. And just like, you know, unfortunately, we can't assume that everyone's not going to be an asshole. It's the worst part of society.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have anything else to add about those?
I don't even remember what the question was. We're just
Originally it was laws and then it went into something
Oh.
else, but I loved it. So
culture change. Yeah.
yeah. This is a long one. How do you feel about the emergence of more plus-sized models and artists in the main sphere? Have you ever had body issues from society standards, and how can we change it? And what do you do to practice self-love / self-care when you're feeling down about yourself or your image? That was a Cassy question. It's very long.
Oh my. That's a lot. I love it. Love the body positivity movement. I love bodies, especially because I do burlesque. I love seeing different sizes and shapes and colors and, you know, expressions and everything. I'm just like a little creep. I'm just like, I love bodies, but also I think the body positivity movement can lack in the sense where not everyone has to be attractive either. Like your value isn't your attractiveness. But so I think it gets a little too caught up in that. Like you can just be a person with a body and that's fine. But in general, like I think it's great. I love sizes and shapes and colors and ages and textures and tones. I love it. As a human being, a female human being, I've definitely had body image issues. I'm Sicilian, so I am a hairball. And that has caused me a lot of body image issues. I'm furry. And you still don't see a lot of that represented. Every now and then you'll see a model that has like a little bit of golden hair in their armpit.
Or they have a little bit of armpit hair and then
like a little golden tuft. And I'm just like, I have a beard. Leave me alone. So that has caused me a lot of body image issues, but you know, I do my best with it. And at the end of the day, my partner loves me and accepts me. And I'm just a little fuzzy hairball, whatever. And yeah, I got a little pudge, whatever. But I am myself. I'm not here to be a product on a shelf. You know what I mean? So nobody's perfect in that sense. And I'm just myself, and I like myself. And was there any more to the question, or did I kind of just go off on being furry?
What do you do to practice self-love when you're feeling down?
Oh Lord. I guess a lot of stuff. I mean, usually I'm an extrovert, so being around people helps. You know, I have my partner, and even if it's just like texting, you know, obviously with the pandemic and everything, just talking to people at work. So that being around people makes me feel better. And like appearance wise, sometimes like nothing like putting on a little lipstick and a little eye makeup to make me feel better. Maybe get a new tattoo, cut my bangs. Yeah. I do
Dye
that.
my hair.
Oh, yes. Yeah, all those things kind of make me feel better when I'm feeling down. Yeah. And that's my answer.
Cool. Cassie?
I wrote this question and I still don't remember everything in it. However, I mean,
It's in the Facebook chat. I'm not reading it again.
I have it in my Google Docs too. It's fine. But for me, like, I love seeing plus size people of color, plus size of every dimension. I love seeing that it's becoming more mainstream. I think the first person to really, like, in like modern times to bring it out was like Ashley Graham when she got featured on Sports Illustrated
Swimsuit Edition.
Yes. And that was the first time like a model like that was like front and center, and it just went from there. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful, because as someone who used to be like a stick when I was younger, and I've put on a considerable amount of weight, probably almost 70 pounds, but from where I was like 15 years ago in high school, I was like 100 pounds, 110 pounds back then. But now I've become a woman, I've got curves, and that's okay. But I think something that body positivity leaves out sometimes too is women on the skinny spectrum too. So a lot of people like to skinny shame to make the plus size movement better, and I don't think that's okay either. I think that's a thorn of the plus size body positivity movement, because I think we like to pit, again, it's pitting women against each other, and that's ugly. It's something that needs to go out of the body positivity movement. But for me, self-love is either like working on like my modeling portfolio, or crafting a new burlesque act, or even just taking a bath and smoking a blunt. Like, that's great self-care for me these days. So it's fantastic. I live in Colorado. It's legal here. It's been legal for a long time. I live in Colorado. It's okay to smoke blunts here in your bathtub, although apartments don't always like it. I'm actually trying to grow a plant right now. I found a seed in my grinder, so I'm trying to grow a little plant. But
Yo, can I have a piece of pizza while I'm doing this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm starving. Hold on.
But there is thorns to every movement, and I just wanted to bring that to light too, because I think that's something, and it's something that a lot of us like who are plus size grapple with too. I think like putting down women that are skinny, women that have that model body, and it's something that I have to get myself out of too sometimes. Like, I see it in my head, and then I'm like, I need to stop that. All bodies, including skinny bodies, including fat bodies, whatever, and fat needs to stop being a negative term. I don't like fat being a negative term.
Pretty hot and thick.
I mean,
fat,
if you remember, Queen flat out said,
"Fat bottom girls make the rock and world go round."
Legit.
So yeah, there's my answer for that.
What do you do when you are down on yourself?
It depends. For me, sometimes I've learned to ask my partner, like, hey, I'm having a low day, because I'm a words of affirmation person. So like, words make me feel better. I'm having a low day. Say nice things to me. Or again, I'll take a bath and a blunt. It's a great time when I'm feeling stressed and I'm feeling down. Or I just dress up real sexy in some lingerie and I do a photo shoot. It makes me feel a little better about myself. Like, people get the wrong idea, I think, about women who post pictures like that. I'm not doing it for man's approval. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good about myself.
And I do it because I want my friends to go, yes.
I do it for the girls, the goths, and the gays, and the
Yes.
non-binaries. Thank you.
I love your
very
photos,
much.
Cassie. I love every photo you post. I love it.
Oh, I love every photo you post too. It's great. I love all of you. Like, all 4 of the women in here, or 3 that are not me, because I think I'm a piece of shit sometimes, but
So you love yourself too.
I think all of us like represent like a big piece of like what women empowerment really is, and I look up to all of you because you like keep me on my shit.
All right, Heather, do you remember the question? For you, I will read it again because you didn't write it.
I'm gonna wing it. I'm not gonna make you say it.
Go for it. Party.
Okay, so with the plus size models, I love it. I think everyone needs representation. I like that more than just plus size are being represented. Like now we have models with like special needs. Like we have ones with Down syndrome, we have ones in wheelchairs. Like I like that everyone's being represented now in like 2021, and it finally took enough time. It's not just like these picture perfect people. Now it's people who have different skin conditions, like the people who have the pigment issues. They're being models now, and I think that's beautiful. So I'm a huge fan of bodies as well. I think everyone's beautiful as long as you treat people beautiful, you know? So I am a huge fan of everyone being represented in modeling and stuff, no matter like what their size or whatever. And then I definitely struggled with self-image issues for a really, really long time. I was teeny tiny in high school. Like when I graduated, I was probably like 100 pounds, if that. So when like I gained weight, I was devastated because I always thought you had to be like skinny and perfect to be beautiful and worthwhile and like worth it. But now as an adult, like my grandmother says, I'm built like a woman. And I think that's awesome because like I've been told multiple times I have birthing hips, which I don't know how to take that as a compliment or not, but I learned to like love myself and to get all the self-doubt out of my head because you don't have to be skinny to be worth it. So I don't know, love yourself, I guess, because I learned to do it and it was really, really, really hard. It was a huge struggle, but now I'm here loving myself. And self-care stuff that I do, I'll put on like my favorite jams. I'll dance. I'll just dance by myself. I'll definitely smoke. Sometimes I'll take some shrooms and just trip out and dance and vibe with the whole world. It's a great, if you microdose, that's being used in research right now as a depression remedy. Fun facts. Only microdosing though, not taking like a whole eighth. But yeah, so I'll do that. Music helps, going on nature walks. I freaking love finding mushrooms out in like everywhere because they're just so beautiful. Like don't eat the ones you find, but you know, appreciate nature. And photo shoots. I started doing them in my room just by myself. I love it. My next thing I want to do is a blood photo shoot. I want to do it so freaking bad. But yeah, I think I answered everything. I don't know.
Yes, you did.
I think all of us on here, I just want to interject for a second,
Go for it.
have like been skinnier and heavier at some point in our lives. And that happens to a lot of women. And I think it causes a lot of self-doubt in our heads, but it's something that most women go through, whether they were a little bit bigger and they lost a lot of weight, or whether it's women who can't gain weight, or women who just don't like were one size and now are another, and it fucks with your brain because of society and because again of cultural things. But back in the day, heavy women used to be the shit because it was a sign of royalty and it was a sign of wealth.
Yeah, they
Still
you could
is in
afford
Africa.
food.
So yeah, Jenny, if you need me to reread the question, I will for you.
I
didn't write it.
have it in front of me.
Awesome.
So as far as the industry goes, I am very grateful to see different body types and different abilities being represented. I think that is very important. As I know John and Cassy know, my wife has a disability. Sometimes she uses a wheelchair, sometimes she uses a walker, sometimes she uses a cane. And I remember Ulta did a campaign a little while ago, I think it was about a year ago at this point. It was their last spring campaign. And there was a girl in a wheelchair. And it was just so inspiring to the point where like a mom took to Instagram to like thank Ulta for including this model. And that just made my heart soar. So I love the inclusion within the industry. That being said, my own self-image journey and my own body image journey is a bit complicated. A little bit of backstory for those who don't know John and Cassy. I'm sorry, I'm going to be repeating myself a little bit here. When I was 15, I was sent away to a troubled teen facility. I was 96 pounds when I was sent away. When my parents pulled me from that facility 10 months later, I was 125 pounds. And it was gained in a very unhealthy manner. They basically force fed us. So my body underwent a severe weight gain in a very unhealthy manner. When I transferred to my next facility, I was able to get back down to a healthy weight. It's about 115. It's about a size 4, you know, well, 4. So I was about a size 4, okay? And I was happy with my body the way that it was. When I got out, I aged out when I was 18. John and Cassy, you remember me in college. I was a skinny piece of nothing. And then I met my husband, at the time boyfriend, and the relationship weight happened. And I remember one day we were cleaning out my car and one of Pete's friends stopped by and he comments and he goes, "Did Jenny put on some weight?" Yeah, my heart fucking broke. And the fact that, I'm sorry, like I'm going to cry just thinking about it because this is a lot for me and I'm sorry. But like I had already been having so many issues like with how I looked. And I knew that like I was happy and that I had somebody who loved me regardless. But to hear that from someone just so blatantly fucking killed me. And like I walk the threshold. I'm a size 6 to a size 8, depending on where I shop. I know that I'm not what the industry necessarily calls big or whatever. Like I'm that weird gray area. And I think it's because of that I struggle a lot with accepting who I am and how my body looks, because I'm not on either extreme. You know, I'm just kind of here in the middle, and I know that it's okay. And like my partners love me regardless, and that's great. But it's really hard sometimes to like look at myself and go, hey, I'm beautiful. I'm okay. And honestly, I don't know what I do to feel better about it because I'm still fighting with that every day. I just kind of exist.
Going off of that. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Going off of that, when I was younger, I was about probably 14. And I remember my mom making a comment one time because we were passing a Hooters and she's like, "Well, you could never work there."
Yeah.
Because I was, especially when I was skinny, I've always had like a small chest, but had a really small chest. And since that day, I mean, even before that, because of course people pick on me, blah, blah, blah. But since then, like just hearing certain things, or I remember when I was starting to gain weight, I went out with my friend Kaylani and they were like, "Oh yeah,
she's a bitty nothing.
She's cute, but she's a little too thick for me at like 140 pounds.
Oh my God.
I think also when you're thin, some people delight in letting you know that you've gained weight, you know, because I was also super duper skinny and I'm 5'8", so I was like a beanpole. But then like when I started filling out, I remember like this one girl who had tons of body, and it's always like, it always comes from a place of someone who has, when it comes from a woman, it comes from a place of them having body image issues themselves. And she was just so happy. She just like poked my arm and she's like, "Oh, your arm is getting fat." And it was like so fucking rude and hurtful. but at the same time, I was like, I know it's because she still is jealous, or she still has her own demons, and they think they have the right to, I mean, and that's just in general, going back to some feminism shit right now, is that people think they have like ownership of a woman's body to say, you know, like I dyed like green streaks into my hair, and a male coworker's like, yeah, I don't like when women have funny colored hair. And it's like, oh, nobody fucking asked you.
Or it's
And
like,
so it's like,
women with
why do you-
colored hair are crazy.
yeah, or like, oh, I don't really like tattoos. It's like, nobody fucking asked you. So it's, but they
What
think
must
they
your
have,
husband think?
yeah, like they think they have like ownership of like
Ugh.
like the way you would look at like critique different like items on a shelf. You know, so, sorry, I went off on a tangent, but Jenny, I do wish I could give you a big hug right now.
Thank
Same.
you. I
Sorry,
didn't think it would get that emotional.
Hey,
This is emotional stuff, and
Yeah. Oh,
whoa, everyone just flipped around.
that was my cat. I apologize.
It's all right. Like everyone just moved, and like everyone's in a different place now.
Oh, on my screen, we're all in the same place, and I think that's where the
Same.
recording's coming from. So nothing got funky on my end.
Oh, when we recorded, apparently, like as we're talking, like our faces will get bigger.
Right, because you don't
Sometimes,
have
yeah.
it set to gallery view. You have it set to active speaker.
Do I?
Yes.
It's a gallery view. No,
I
you
have it set to
sure?
gallery.
When it records, though, it pulls up whoever's talking, which is weird.
Only sometimes.
Yeah, it'll go back and forth,
Well, we'll see it on YouTube.
pretty much. All right. So we've made great strides in women's rights, but what still needs to change could be on a US scale or a global scale. Okay, got it. I could reread that with better diction if you want.
I gotcha.
Angelina, I don't want to interrupt your pizza because it looks delicious, but you are up first.
So definitely what needs to change, we've touched on some things. A lot of the culture has to change. Viewpoints on sex work, I mean, the legality of it as well. That needs to change. Rape culture needs to just go the fuck away. What was the other part of that question? John or Cassy or something?
It's just like on a US scale or a global
Oh.
scale.
I think the global scale is pretty important, and I admit my own like lack of like research on this, but I know that like there are women in other countries who have it a lot worse, and I want to help. I haven't, you know, I will admit my full ignorance that I have not looked into it further, but I know that there's like women-run businesses in impoverished countries. I think that's something we could focus on, because even though we have a lot of work to do in the US, we still have it better than a lot of other people. And maybe that's like a good way to get out of your own head, is to try and help someone, a woman in a third world country where, you know, all the awful things that happen to them. So I think that's really important. Businesses run by women in other countries. I'm rambling. Sorry.
Mute. I keep forgetting to unmute.
Oh.
And it just doesn't unmute. You're totally fine. I agree with you 100%. And I know that in a lot of countries, it is still legal to like, I don't remember the exact term they use, but like where you're allowed to just kill your daughter if she like shames the family.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
just,
mean, women being able to drive cars or get education, or do they still do like female circumcision in some countries?
I was going to talk about genital mutilation in other countries. Yeah.
Somalia, I think specifically.
and some certain places in Africa do it as well. And I don't know if you were going to touch on it, Cassy, but we can also touch on the fact that that asshole senator compared being trans to genital mutilation. So take it away.
Yeah, no, I think like on a global scale, there's still like And even at like the US border, like they were giving hysterectomies to these like immigrant women in these facilities at the border. Like this isn't even just like a global problem. This is even a US problem. Like forced hysterectomies or genital mutilation so women can't feel pleasure from sex or won't have a sex drive or whatever it may be. That needs to be outlawed on a global scale. Like that is not okay. Like it goes beyond abortion rights. It goes to some of these women, like they cut off like their external reproductive organs and like sew it up so it's just a hole. And that is something that really needs to change. On a US scale, it's definitely rape culture. Like that needs to fucking go. Rape culture needs to go. We need to stop teaching women that they need to be afraid all the time, or stop having women be afraid all the time. Because while it may not be all men, it's enough men that it makes a fucking problem.
Have you heard of the husband stitch?
I have not.
Are any of you mothers? So, and I don't mean to cut into you, Heather. I'm sorry. It kind of piggybacks. I apologize. If you ever have a child and you have a vaginal delivery and the doctor talks about the husband stitch.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Right. So normally you get an episiotomy, which is a slight cut to make sure that you don't tear. Okay, that's fine. The husband stitch stitches you up tighter for his enjoyment. When we know full well as women that the muscles and the organs will go back to how they should be.
That's something that needs to change too. Like vagina shaming, just because someone has more labia does not mean they're. I've had more labia my entire life since I was a fucking child. So that shit's stupid. Like if you're judging like how many people a woman has slept with because of how her vagina looks, you're a fucking moron.
Heather?
One thing that definitely needs to change is that most doctors, if you want to get your tubes tied as a woman, you need permission from a man to get it. A lot of my friends have tried, like one of my friends on Facebook, she has 3 kids. And the doctor told her, you can't get your tubes tied because you need permission from your husband, and we need to hear permission from your husband. Because what if he wants more children? So I think that's something that definitely needs to change. Obviously rape culture too. And like the shaming of women who don't want kids. Because like we're more than just breeding machines, you know? So there's definitely that. And like globally, they need to work on women not. Sorry, I was getting a phone call. Women need to stop being property in a lot of different cultures. Like I did a school project, and it was in the Quran where if a woman is caught cheating on her husband, she's buried up to her neck and stoned to death. And if a man is caught cheating on his wife, he's buried up to his hips and stoned. But if he escapes, he's allowed to go. If the woman escapes, she's murdered on the spot. So there's double standards. So that definitely needs to change globally, because a lot of cultures think that women are just property and baby makers, and that's it. So that's a huge issue that needs to be addressed. And I think that's all I can come up with right now.
All right. Anyone else have anything they want to add to that section?
I mean, yeah.
Go for it.
So we're talking specifically about culture and how it should be changed like on a global scale. I think a lot of it comes down to, I mean, a lot of you touched on it already, and like it's really hard to build on top of such amazingly argued points. I just think that there needs to be more awareness about women's pain and women's mental health. How often do we go to the doctor and say that this hurts? And they tell us, well, maybe you need to lose some weight. Maybe it's just your time of the month. Maybe it's just all in your head. I think, and I've seen this firsthand. My wife was lucky enough to get, I don't think her tubes are tied. I think they're cut or something. It's a reversible procedure. But the only reason that she was able to get it is because she has a disability that gives her chronic pain. And I don't know how often her pain has been dismissed. I know how often my friend's pain has been dismissed. I have friends on Facebook from college and such who are routinely told that they need to lose some weight or that they need to just get laid or something. So, right?
Hold
Like
up. Hold
something
up.
so crazy.
I'm sorry. Time by a doctor?
Specifically a gynecologist in this case is the one that I'm talking about. I'm not going to name her because like I respect her privacy and HIPAA is a thing. But her doctor was like, well, maybe, you just need to get some and maybe like lose a few pounds and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, she's coming to you with like uterine pain. And these are your suggestions? Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. But we need to be taken seriously when it comes to our medical experiences. When it comes to, if I come into you saying that like my back hurts when I do this and you tell me that I just need to lose a few pounds, that is not okay. Start treating women medically as patients first and view our symptoms as they are, rather than finding an excuse to write them off so that you don't have to say that you gave us a script for X, Y, and Z that you might not get reimbursed for.
Or like how many times like a woman with mental health problems, she's just crazy or too hard to deal with because she has anxiety, and sometimes she gets like nervous about like people from like childhood trauma about people not still like caring for her and stuff like that. But she's just crazy. She's just, hard to handle. Don't date those crazy bitches. No, that needs to change also.
Do you know how long it took me to get a PTSD diagnosis? I aged out when I was 18. I'm 32. And I just got the diagnosis last month. How the fuck is that okay?
Yeah, I have an interjection. So I have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysmorphic disorder. So it's kind of like PMS, but to the extreme. So like it's from like a week before your period until like the first few days, and you're extra hormonal, enraged, just irate, just it's 10 times more intense than regular PMS. And I went to several doctors about it because I've ended friendships, I've ended relationships, I've quit jobs during it because like you can't handle your emotions, and I've gone to doctors about it and they're like, you're just PMSing, you're fine. That's a lot more than PMS, a hell of a lot more than PMS. And most people are like, no, you're okay, you're fine, take birth control, you'll be okay, lose some weight, you'll be okay. What? I don't want
Birth control is depression pills for me. Hormonal birth control fucks with a lot of women, especially if you have pre-existing like anxiety and depression. Like birth control can make those 10 times worse, and that's something that doctors don't talk about.
Birth control almost killed me. That's what made me gain weight, and I had stretch marks from my collarbones to my ankles, and I can't take it. And every suggestion is take birth control no matter what the issue is. No, bitch, I can't do it.
They tried to put me on birth control for my BPD. I have borderline personality disorder. They're like, well, it's hormonal related. Yes, it's worse while I'm on my period, but that's not the main cause. Like people are so quick to just write it off rather than look at the diagnosis, rather than take what you are telling them seriously. Even if you have the paperwork, like I'm lucky enough to be diagnosed as borderline since I was 14. I'm lucky in that regard, and I recognize that. But that doesn't change the fact that doctors will continually write everything off as you're just being a woman. And that is not,
sorry, we're so behind on women's health in Western culture. Like, I mean, I don't even know if Eastern culture is any better, but like up until maybe only the last century, Are we really like looking at different things in the way our sexual organs work and everything like that? Like, for how many centuries were things either dismissed or hysteria, that whole thing, So I feel like, we're finally at a time where they are paying more attention and doing more research, but there's a lot of catching up to do. Think of how they can treat so many other conditions. I mean, the mental health thing in general is just, that needs a lot of catching up. But then when you combine it with women's health issues as well, it's like they have a lot of catching up to do.
And there's pills for men's libido. What about for women?
Speaking of like catching up, I'm sorry, no, go ahead and then I'll.
Or like, it's just it's hormonal, it's whatever, but like we have Viagra for men and stuff like that. But like, what about for women going through menopause who have all these problems and don't get in the mood? Or when I take birth control, my libido is gone, like 110%. It's fucked, it's over. I don't want to have sex, I don't want to touch anybody. So it's also like taking women's sexual health into consideration. Like, we may want to have sex or we may not want to have sex, and that's also okay. Like, we're not just sexual beings, but
Right.
if you have issues with your libido as a woman and you want to do something about it, you don't have really many options. We can't just pop a blue pill and it's all good.
Well, even, I mean, you touched on it. Do you guys remember sex ed? Do you remember learning all about the penis? Okay, the only man in the chat here is hella gay. We know where the clitoris is. Can we just shut up, John?
Listen, I'm gay. I still like know anatomy.
You still know where the clitoris is. And the thing is, like, men are taught that it's okay, and I'm gonna go there, it's okay to masturbate. How many of us knew that stimulation did not just have to be internal? How many of us knew about clitoral stimulation? How many of us knew about what it took for our bodies to achieve pleasure, rather than how do we help men achieve pleasure?
Yeah, I only found out by accident.
Same.
I was like a late
I thought-
teenager. I was like,
Me
Oh,
too.
I thought I just had to pee. I didn't know what that was.
Cassy, do you remember our friend J.O.? Same initials as me. But lived like near you, I think.
Male or female?
Female. Had a sister with red hair. She went to high school with us.
Yes.
I literally, like, she was with this guy and I was like, oh, does he give you orgasms? And she was like, no. And like, I was like, you need to like fix that. And she was like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, either take control or like tell him what to do. And if he doesn't do what you tell him, punch him in the face repeatedly until he does.
I think that's where the concept of a power bottom really comes into play. You know, it's so, like, as someone, and maybe we're touching into different territory here, and I apologize. I apologize a lot. We need to work on that.
That's something else women need to work on, is not apologizing for literally everything we fucking do.
Well, getting into that, I'm a hardcore submissive. That being said, I know what the fuck I want. And I think it's being able to tell someone, this is what I want, this is how you please me, in a way that is confident in who we are as women. You know, if he's not hitting those buttons, what can we do to get them there? But more importantly, what are they going to do to learn how to get there?
And in a relationship like that, the submissive has all the power if you do it right.
Well, the power is in consent. And if you pull away that consent, then you pull away the entire interaction. And I think that's such an important thing that wannabe dominants don't understand, is that at the end of the day, if I say no, that no is final. And if you cannot respect that no, you do not deserve my yes.
And I think society has kind of put women into a place where it socially is kind of looked down upon for a woman to like call out a man for being shitty in bed. because for some reason, if you do that, it's like it looks bad on you, which is ridiculous. I've called a million guys out for being bad in bed, and I will continue to do so, and I encourage everyone to. And maybe a million is my number, and I don't care. Are you drinking a martini?
Is it a martini if it's just you drink it in a martini glass?
Yes.
Kind of.
It's like some kind of, I don't know, pink girly wine, but I
Okay.
just happen to, other than just drinking out of a pint glass, I was like, oh, that's a fancy glass.
I was like, oh my
It comes in
God, drinking
pints.
martini. I love her.
Like if there's an olive floating in here.
Just like stir your olive with your olive.
I'll keep my Pennsylvania on points out here.
All right. Does anyone have anything else to add about culture?
That's a whole episode, honey.
I know. I feel like it's so much that like I'm getting overwhelmed with all the things I want to say.
Me too.
And then just like 4 things come out and I'm just like, ah.
All right. So then I suppose we'll go to, how do you feel about the portrayal of women in cinema and TV today?
I think it's gotten a lot better. We have a lot more representation in different roles other than just, the eye candy. With like was it Captain Marvel? I'm not a big Marvel Universe person, but I know that there's a Captain Marvel, right? That's the lady.
Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch and Black Widow all kicking ass.
So there's like a lot of, and like, Rey in Star Wars, like what's that whole, the Bechdel rule? You guys familiar with that? Yeah. So there's a lot more of that being followed in the good way, I guess. I think it's getting a lot better. I mean, there's still not a ton of like different body types and different things like that, but I think there's a lot more different niches and roles that women can fall into in media today.
All right, Cassy?
Jumping off of what Angelina said, I think it is still an issue that like the fat woman in a movie is always the comedic relief. Like if she doesn't have a model body, she's just the comedic relief. And I know we have made great strides in cinema and TV since even just 10 years ago, to be quite honest with you. But it still needs to come full circle and kind of move with the times and get these women that aren't like sticks to be in like a desired role. She's never desired. She's always just the fat, funny friend. And that's something that I think that still needs to be worked on.
This is so random. Sorry to jump in, but I think it was on like Futurama, and there was like something happening on the ship, and there's like the crew on the ship, and one of the crew members was like a plus-sized woman, and it was just like she was just part of the crew, and you're like waiting for the joke, because plus-sized women aren't supposed to be smart, or you know what I mean? So, and I was just like, Futurama, all right.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. But yeah, that's pretty much like she said, like I said, like it's come very far. We're not just wives or sisters now. We have roles where we are the badass. Look at Wonder Woman now. Look at all the things that are coming out, like female superheroes and female villains even in the media. But at the same time, there's still pretty far it needs to go on expanding the different types of women in cinema and their role in a movie.
All right, Heather, what is your take on women in cinema and TV today?
So I definitely agree that we've come afar, like really far, because when it first started, we were just the unhappy housewives, but we definitely have come really far, but we do need work too. Because a lot of TV portrayal of women and movie portrayal of women is we're still the housewife and we're still in an unhappy marriage and we're still the mother, and a lot of the shows, movies, whatever, is a woman chasing a man and doing whatever for a man. Like any Lifetime movie that they've ever produced has been big time, big shot woman lives in the city and then goes home to visit family and falls in love and stays there and stops her entire life for a man. But it's never the other way around, you know? So we're still portrayed as kind of less than, I feel like. Like, yeah, we have the superheroes and stuff, and like they finally made Harley Quinn not obsessed with Joker, and now she's like happy with Ivy, which is amazing. But we still have a really far way to go, you know? Like we've come so far, but we're not there yet. So I don't know. That's all I gotta say.
No, that's awesome. And honestly, you just made me think of Hairspray. Like we've come so far, but we still have so far to go. And I definitely agree with all of what you guys are saying, but I'm going to pass it off now to Jenny. Your take on women in cinema and TV today.
So I've thought about 3 shows that have been real staples in my life and new guilty pleasures. You know, I'm going to start with Parks and Rec. And if you take Leslie and you take Anne, they are very much your contemporary body type. They're what you expect from a leading lady. They're beautiful, don't get me wrong. But then you get Donna Meagle. And she is plus size. She has attitude. She treats herself. And you know what? Her game is fucking fierce, okay? Like, I have so much respect for that representation of women. The fact that Donna surpasses Anne, teaches Anne how to date, and then moves way fucking past her. I love that. I think that's a really positive portrayal of women in different types. And in that case, even the I guess the socially accepted beauty is lacking. And it's this other woman who you don't really expect to be like this force really comes into her own and shows us that you don't have to be a size 2. And I adore that. I have a show that I watch when I really need girl power, but I also want to feel pretty. And I know y'all are going to judge me so hard. It's called Drop Dead Diva. Okay. And it was on Lifetime. And I loved it because it was this model who was thrown into this plus size body because she died. And rather than go after Grayson and be all like, oh, I love him, blah, blah, blah. I guess they circle back to it. It's Lifetime, what the fuck ever. But to see her flourish as a lawyer and to be beautiful within her new body, within her new intelligence, opposite her best friend, Stacy, who is your classic model, gorgeous. Oh my God. Like I love her in Doom Patrol. And if you haven't seen Doom Patrol, I highly recommend it because she's amazing in it. But these different body types learning to appreciate who they are and owning it in their respective fields. I think that is so important because it shows, it's like what Cassy said. There's that skinny shaming that's going on. There's almost this like bimbo shaming that's going on. Stacy may not be the brightest, you know, light bulb in the shed or what the fuck ever, but she gets it done. And Jane may not be that size 2 that she once was, but she wins every case she is in court for, and she brings it on her A game. One more, and it's my ultimate guilty pleasure, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Bridgerton. We've all sat through and watched this terribly cheesy but beautiful show that has your typical like Daphne and Eloise are beautiful, and Penny is smart and plus size, and it shows that all these women have their own experiences and they are not typical in any way. And it shows that no matter what someone looks like on the outside, you don't know what's going on the inside. And I have so much respect for these well-written, well thought out women who are more than they appear. I love it. The show is terrible and the show is cheesy and I hate it, but I love it. And my husband loves it and we watch it together and it's our thing.
All right. And looks like we're at the last question. Sad. What is something that cisgender men do that makes you want to claw their fucking eyes out? I added a fucking in there. Angelina.
Girl.
Girl, this is when you can lay into it.
Do we have to pick just one?
No. Light this world up and set it on fire.
So I'm going to say two things, and I'm sure this is going to be shared by many of us. I really hate and this is the smaller one, and we'll get to a bigger one. The smaller one, but still valid, is I hate when people are like, oh, but I didn't, you're cool for a girl, or you're so smart for a girl, or like if a woman likes something that's typically a guy thing, it's so hot, like, oh, you're a girl who likes to play guitar. Ooh, like I hate that mentality, because that just shows how they feel about women in general, that like women are these like, oh, I can't do anything, I just complain, like I have interests, but also like I am a girl, I like to get my nails done, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like Jenny, what you were saying before, like there's no shame in also being like other girls, like that's okay too. But I have to say, like, my number one thing that absolutely drives me up a fucking wall is nice guys. That is
Can we all just chime in and say nice guys?
Yeah, I mean,
where's my hug?
I mean, I'm unfortunately, I don't know. I'm 37, and I'm with a partner for many years now, and I don't deal with many fuckboys anymore these days. But I mean, growing up and a guy just like totally like, you didn't want a guy to get feelings for you. Like, unless it was the particular guy you liked, you did not want it, because you were suddenly dragged into a scenario where you cannot win. And it's such bullshit, because guys who are the nice guys, first off, they're only chasing the super hot girls, and they're not actually worried about nice girls who maybe are like less conventionally attractive, but they're nice. Why doesn't that count for them? But the whole thing about like your nice tokens don't make me spit out sex, and just the whole thing like nice guys finish last. Shut the fuck up. Get a personality, make yourself look better, take a shower, and oh my God, like let's go off in the chat.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I'm gonna jump right off of that, because if you have to say you're a nice guy, you're not as fucking nice as you think you are. Women don't nice is not a personality trait. I say this on this damn podcast all the time. Nice is not a personality. I like someone because of their personality, not because they're nice. And just because you're nice does not entitle you to shit.
Or judging like how like, oh well, women only like the dirt bag guys or whatever like that, like maybe because they fuck real good or something, or or maybe that is a problem, but then like nobody judges a man when he wants like the hot crazy girl, you know what I mean? Like people love fucking crazy people because it's fun. There's no shame in that.
Crazy
and like,
people are good in bed.
My partner is nice, but that's not his personality.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not attracted.
Cassy and John.
Yes.
Do y'all remember, and I'm going to text the name to the group chat because I'm not going to put this person on blast. Do y'all remember him?
Yes.
So he spent my wedding hitting on my then 16-year-old sister-in-law. I think Pete, was she 16 or 17? You remember the person whose room we lived in when I was technically homeless? I'm not saying their name on chat. Excuse me. Got real depressed and drank himself into a stupor because she would not hook up with him.
Cassy, we can't see
even though he's real nice. Even though he was, he got her some wine. By the way, we had unlimited wine and beer at our wedding. It's not saying much. Routinely after that, got depressed because he was a nice guy who wasn't getting any.
I never thought
Angelina,
he was
you
that
hit
nice
the
at
nail on
beginning.
the head.
Something else I want to add though is guys who shame sex workers but then consume porn.
It's hypocritical.
Did you see the thing I sent you on Instagram yesterday, Cassy?
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, I'd never date a girl with an OnlyFans. Well, would a girl with an OnlyFans date you? Fucking no. So, like, sex work does not. I have a partner and an OnlyFans. Like, there is no correlation to being in sex work and being promiscuous. And even if someone is promiscuous, fuck off with your opinions, man. Like, we're allowed to be promiscuous too. I'm tired of men being able to sleep with whoever they want and get praised for it. And if a woman sleeps with more than like 2 people, she's a fucking whore. My number is what it is, and it's fucking high, and I don't care. Guess what? I know what I want in a person, and I know what I want in bed. I know what I want, and I know how to talk to a partner and tell them what I want in bed. And it's something to say, and modesty is fine too, even if you want to wait until marriage. That's your own prerogative, but don't shame. And it's not just men too, it's women.
It's all about choice. It's all about choice. If you have, and feminism gives you the freedom to make that choice, you know?
Agreed. But that's something else that like guys do that really bothers me. Like, you can't shame sex workers but then consume their content.
You remember my ex from like a few years ago, the one who y'all met. He flat out told me, no, I'd never date a sex worker. I'd never date a porn star. But like, I've seen his browser history, man. Like, you can't say that.
And it's also too, I forgot where I was going with that. Sorry. My cat's chewing on a pen on my screen here. He's a boy and he's a little dumb, but that's okay. Although I don't technically think he has gender anymore because he doesn't have balls. So, my genderless little baby. But yeah, I was gonna go somewhere and I completely forgot. If I think of it, I'll pop it in. But
Well, it is, you're up on what do cisgender straight men do?
well, mine was the sex work thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, you can't shame sex workers and consume their content. Like, that's not cool. Like, I'd rather be with a guy who slept with a bunch of people and who knows what he wants and like has experience than like someone who is like, oh, I'm like a 40-year-old virgin and I'm not going to date a woman unless she's a virgin and she's never slept with anybody else or whatever it may be.
Men who do that, who shame sex workers and then consume the content, it's because that's how they view women, as like a product, lesser. They see sex and sex workers as like a commodity versus the person that they want to be with in a relationship as like this like Madonna, you know, like goddess, you know, but we're all the same, you know, but they see a product and a person, whereas we're just fucking people.
No matter what we do for a job, we're just people. Like, I'm an office person by day. I do burlesque and I sell my nudes on the internet. Like, it is what it is at that point. Like,
Yeah, science lady and burlesque lady on the side.
yeah.
Yeah, if you look at my husband's girlfriend, she has a 9-to-5 desk job that she's like super professional about. But like, I can't even begin to tell you the shit they get into here. And that doesn't change how professional she is in the office.
Right.
And it's this acceptance, I think, that we give men, where it's like you're okay to have your bedroom life and then your professional life, that we don't then grant to women.
And even men in sex work, like, if someone comes across it at a job, like, it's not a big deal. But if you're a woman, it's a huge fucking deal in the workplace. Like, a guy can sell sex online and that's fucking awesome. Like, you get to fuck all the bitches. But then if a woman sells her nudes, she could get fired or not hired from a
That
job.
might still be a problem for men though in the workplace though. Is it? Like, if you found out like a guy was like
If it's a gay thing, I think it's more of an issue than if it was like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
Like, if it's a heterosexual thing, I think it would be like 100% like, oh yeah, stud, like Nux. But if it's a gay guy, they'd be like, you're fired.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
do you remember?
call you a queer.
I think it was a few years ago. A guy who's like a math teacher, I think in like eighth grade, like an eighth grade math teacher, does like underwear modeling on the side, and they were like, "Oh, he's the sexiest teacher ever." And then like a female teacher lost her job for like doing some nude modeling work or doing something that involved like her body. So they hailed this guy teacher as like this gorgeous specimen, and then shamed this woman for doing the same exact thing. It's such a double standard.
And I'll add to that, there was a gay porn star, I should say, and he had a regular like day job, and he was fired from it because customers complained because they saw him in gay porn. And
But they
by the
saw
by-
him, which means they consumed his material.
By the by, most men who do gay porn are not gay. Most men who do gay porn are actually straight, and most women who do lesbian porn are also straight. Just an aside. So even if you're doing gay porn, it doesn't even mean you're gay. And even if you were, it's not a problem. But even like some of these porn stars are still straight.
They're just like, it's a living.
Basically, yeah.
you know how much
Gay
money
porn
straight men
pays
doing
a
gay
lot
porn
more.
makes? For being a bottom, if you're a straight man and you're bottoming in gay porn, you're making $3,000
Wow.
for like 4 hours of your life. $3,000. It's to the point I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm straight as hell. Like,
I'm
well,
so
one, no, the
straight.
fuck you're
I
not.
love vagina.
So, I mean, I'm gonna I got permission from my husband to share this story, and it kind of ties into the whole sex work thing because for a while, my husband took out ads on Craigslist because we cannot make ends meet. And when I say my husband bottomed like a champ, I do not sugarcoat anything. I had what was it? It was a really bad day at work, I think, right? It was a really bad day at work. And he was like, don't worry, I've got you. Come home. Everything is going to be okay. And there was a full sushi platter laid out for me. And I'm like, we have $5 in our bank account. How the hell did you do this? Well, he called up his John, and did what he did. I mean, sex work.
We're all adults here. Just say what he did.
I mean, he bottomed like a fucking champ.
Go
And gave me a full meal, leftovers, took care of me, made sure that I was okay. Did all this for me. Okay? Like he didn't have to. He didn't have it. Shut the fuck up. He's giving me a look right now. He didn't have to do this for me.
A guy who goes and breaks his back on a construction site to bring his.
It's no different.
You're still selling your
Yeah.
body either way.
A living is
And
a
the
living.
fact that
living.
someone like my husband, John and Cassy know him and have met him. The fact that he could put his own ego aside to know that like I was having a bad day and that I needed this just speaks to the honesty of sex work in itself. The fact that it should not be criminalized, and the fact that men should not be degraded for it, just as women should not be degraded for it. I think that's all I'm going to say about cisgender men before I start complaining, because there's a list.
Oh, yeah, we all have a list, but I think Heather still's got to go. So
Yes. I
Yes.
was just about to say, Heather, what makes you want to claw their eyes out?
The number one thing that makes me want to claw their eyes out is when they hate on like anything like being gay anywhere. You know, when they do like if it's like two men on screen kissing, that's disgusting, but they'll watch lesbian porn. Or I don't mind gay people, but if they hit on me, I don't know. Do you think they're gonna hit on you? No, because you ain't shit. Women see you ain't shit either. Okay? Shut up. Like, that irritates the shit out of me. Like, I just had this argument the other day because I'm back into The Sopranos, and like toward the end of The Sopranos, they introduced like some like LGBTQ characters, whatever, but a lot of people are like, I don't want to watch it now. Okay, don't fucking watch it and go fuck yourself, okay? Like, no one's telling you to watch it, okay? You're gonna go home and watch lesbian porn anyway. Shut the fuck up. And then, that annoys the shit out of me. That, and they think they're entitled to our bodies. Like, I can't, I know probably every person has at least one story. I have a story. So one of the last dates I went on, it's like about a year ago. I gave up on dating because of this. I went on a date and like, I have a booty. I do. I am blessed with a big butt. Whatever. This guy took it upon himself the entirety of the date to try to touch my butt the entire time. I wore a long sweater to cover my butt because I know what my body looks like. Took the entire date to try to touch my butt. It wasn't until I threatened to end his life and bury the body in the woods that we were in for him to stop fucking touching me. I was like, do not touch me. Don't, because I'm not shy about it. Like, if I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be touched. You know, don't fucking touch me. Give my permission. You know, consent is everything. And people they think they're entitled to our bodies because we're even slightly nice to them. Like, just because I'm giving you the time of day doesn't mean you can fucking touch me, okay? Like, leave me alone. I don't like people anyway. Like, don't do it. I can write a whole fucking book about shit that straight men do that annoy the shit out of me because they weakest link. I'm not gonna lie. Not all of them, but most of them are the weakest links in society.
Enough of them are the weak link.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Not all men,
gay
but
men
enough
are so
of them.
awesome to balance the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag not all men.
Exactly.
But enough men.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You know what my favorite thing is? Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I think all of us have stories like that, to be quite honest. And almost every woman you meet is gonna have a story of like, guys, you're not gonna touch a dude's waist to move him out of the way at a bar. Why fucking touch mine?
I do that. I 100% do that to make guys.
Because you're a slut.
No, I do it to make them uncomfortable because I see them do it to women. So I'm like, oh, so this is okay for you. So I will grab their ass or move them with their waist. I don't give a fuck. There's no shame in my game. I know that should they turn and throw a punch, I'm ready. Like, she ready. She's got brass knuckles in her pocket. She ready.
Please tell me that you tell them that they'd be prettier if they smiled.
I've said that to the guys, yeah.
Okay, good.
I hate that too.
I've told guys that they'd be cuter if they didn't talk.
I've said you'd look cuter with something in your mouth.
Y'all are like my heroes right now. Dinner? Oh, dinner for you, not dinner for me.
My dinner got here
Not
like
dinner
20
for
minutes
me.
ago.
Just snacks. Okay, I'm on my own for dinner tonight, guys.
So I have heard a lot tonight, and I mean, I knew a lot of it goes on. What is each of you like the most disgusting thing that's ever happened to you involving a man?
Do you want to go into actual rape territory, or do you want to
Yeah.
shy
Let's
away
go with
from
like
that?
catcalling type things, like the
So,
most
like,
disgusting
safe
thing
for
your man
work?
ever said to you.
Yeah, safe for work, safe for trauma.
Yeah.
Lord. Geez, I'm trying to think what's safe for work, but then like
It doesn't have to be that safe for work. We're still an explicit podcast.
One of like, and this actually, like, all right, so I've never been assaulted like that, but I have been groped against my will a few times, and it was so disgusting. Like, I was hosting an event, and I had my phone in my bra, like you do, and just some old guy just like reached in, and it was just, and I like I actually went to every single person at the bar and told them about him. And like I told every single woman in that bar about him because it just made me feel so like disgusting. And it was just like, it was so gross. I mean, and so I've had a couple like weird incidences like that are just disgusting. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess there's more like maybe benign, just like guy was dumb and said something dumb, but that's the first thing that pops in my head.
So we're going for safer for work territory where we don't need a trigger warning. For me, I got roofied at a club once. Luckily, I was with my friends.
That's a fucking trigger warning.
Nothing happened to me though. And it's gonna have a little bit of a content warning anyway, but like I got roofied at a club in Philly. Some of you may have heard of Nocturne or have been.
Was this the time you went with me? Or was
No,
this
I went with Billy and BF. She's now BF. She used to be.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, just had a baby. But I was there with them too, and I started to feel really fucking weird. And the bartender roofied me, by the way, because that's still a thing that people can do. Make sure you watch them make your drink to the entirety. I had one drink, and I felt more drunk than I'd ever felt in my entire fucking life, and I passed out in the car and threw up. And I was sick for like 2 days afterwards. So that's something that pops into my head as something that has happened to me. Because in some bars, you even in like Asbury and in some areas, you can pay bartenders to roofie people. And if I didn't have my friends there with me, God knows what the hell would have happened to me.
Did Billy, I mean, I know how protective he was of you. How did that play out?
Oh, he drove us home because I drove to the club. There was no fucking way I was driving back. So he drove us home and he dropped her off. He made sure I got into bed okay. And of course, he was like really protective of it. And he was like, oh, like at first, I wasn't even really sure what was happening because you don't know. But I'm not in the business of leaving my drinks to where they can be roofied. So, and that's again something that we shouldn't fucking have to goddamn think about is setting your drink down somewhere or not holding your hand over the top of your drink when you're walking by people or something in along the lines of that. Even if you're careful, there's still ways out there where people will try and fucking get you. So that's what comes to my brain.
Being roofied sucks. It's happened to me more than once. Heather, do you want to take it away?
Okay. So I have two stories that come to mind. The first one, trigger warning. So I was on like a date once with someone that I met online, and we went to it was like mini golf or something. Like it was monster mini golf, that's what it was. And he was taking the game super seriously, which I don't really take anything seriously at all. So total opposites. He was keeping score and stuff. And then at the end of the day, when we left, he wound up winning the game or whatever. On the ride home, he drove. He starts unbuckling his pants and was like, oh, I won the game, so you owe me a blowjob. And I was like, I don't owe you shit. What? And he starts unbuckling his pants and like takes it out. And I was like, no. So then he like grabbed my head. So I grabbed the steering wheel and I go, how the fuck do you want to play this? And he was like, what? So I jerked the steering wheel and almost got us in an accident on the parkway because he wanted to be rapey. Nothing happened because he was afraid of me after that. But yeah, and I reminded him that women have teeth and it really doesn't take much to bite it off. So the second story isn't as bad. So I work at a retail pharmacy, and my clientele in New Jersey are all old people. Old men are really raunchy and disgusting. I had these 3 older men who were regular customers come in and grab my ass every single day. Not even like a brush by, full on like grab and squeeze every time. And I was on the sales floor. I did personal shopping. And it got to the point where this one guy was asking me a question, grabs my whole butt cheek, and is trying to ask me a question. And like Tina Belcher from Bob's Burgers, I made eye contact with him and was just going the entire time for like a solid minute until he thought I was autistic and left me alone for the rest of my life. Never bothered me again because he thought I had autism. Those are my stories.
Oh my God. I feel like there could be a whole like retail nightmare. Can I actually just throw one more story in that made me remind me? And this is like less skeevy than any, there's no real trigger warning for this. But I also used to work for a pharmacy, and the old men are the worst. And there was this older guy who would come in, and he would always make like sexual comments at me, like, oh, look at the way your body jiggles when you move, or something like that. Like every time he'd come in, he'd have something nasty to say. And this was right around the time I was starting to like really gain confidence and start like clapping back to people, because I never used to do that. So one day all I said was, I don't appreciate when you talk to me like that. And he instantly backpedaled so hard that I had to console him. Like he was like, so like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Well, we can still be friends, right? Oh my God, I'm so, like, and I'm like, it's okay. So he, like, after just being so disgusting and rude to me for like the longest time, all I said, I wasn't rude, I didn't curse, I just said, I don't appreciate when you speak to me like that. And then I had to console him. Sorry. I just wanted to throw that retail nightmare story in there. Carry on.
Jenny?
Actually, that's a perfect segue into my story, and there is quite the trigger warning on this first one. Cassy and John, you remember my ex-husband?
Yes.
So my ex-husband failed out of MCT, which is Marine Combat Training. He is currently lying to his now wife, telling her that, he was a Marine and that he served and blah, blah, blah. So he's lying about that shit. That's not the point. The point is, when he failed out of MCT, I was at his parents' house because we didn't yet live together because we were 19 and we were stupid, okay? He got really mad at me because I stood up for him. Now, I'm wearing Uggs. It's winter, okay? I said something that pissed him off, and he gets me in a chokehold. Literally, like, trying to kill me. And I'm kicking at him, and I'm kicking him, and I'm in Uggs, and I'm kicking, and that's not doing shit because Uggs are soft, okay? So I wriggled down, and I managed to bite down on his arm. He's in pain. He's upset, blah, blah, blah. I run out to my car. He follows me. Much like Angelina said, I am now consoling him because he's crying over what he's done to me. And I'm like hugging this absolute abusive fuckface after he's tried to strangle me to death because I hurt his ego. And like, to this day, when I tell this story, I'm like, guys, he's an idiot. To this day, but like in the moment, you're right. Like, we're consoling them because we need to like make sure that they're okay so that we're safe to leave. On a lighter note, as I've been working in retail for the past 10 years, my hair has been many different colors. I have been every color you could possibly imagine, okay? Purple is my go-to. I was working at my job at Best Buy at the time, and I'm up front lanes and I'm ringing someone out, and this guy goes, "What does your husband think of your hair color?" I think it was bright pink at the time. And without missing a beat, I go, "Well, my wife dyed it and she loves it." And it was the best moment of my day. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I wish that worked better on more men, because sometimes telling them you're a lesbian just makes them want to try fucking harder. Like, oh, you just haven't had the right dick yet. You don't know. Mm-hmm. You're not sure. I actually identify as a lesbian now. And I know this is a new thing, but I am dating a man. However, this is the last man I will ever date. I would consider dating a trans man because that's a whole different territory. But last cis man I will ever date, if it doesn't work out, I am 100% gay. I do not want to touch a man ever again.
I got a room for you in Pennsylvania.
Perfect. And know this again, like I want to reiterate from the beginning, we don't hate men. That's not what feminism is about. We just hate the culture around what for centuries men have been allowed to do to women.
Patriarchy.
Can we talk about the fact that they wore high heels first?
And makeup.
And the color pink was meant for men. Like, everything that people assume as feminine now was hella masculine back then.
Drag used to be just performing. Like drag used to be everyone did drag because females were not allowed in this theater.
In Shakespearean play, Shakespearean plays. Even women were played by men.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not so much men, and this gets into gray territory as boys whose voices had not yet cracked. You have to walk a fine line there, but the point is women were not allowed to portray women.
Oh, and when you were talking about that nice guy trope of like he was trying to talk to your 16-year-old sister-in-law, that's a whole other situation of like when I was trying to be friends with him and it was like, I'm so nice and women don't, and I was trying to be like, women don't care about nice. Yes, we want you to be nice to me, but I also want you to have a fucking personality, and he goddamn did not have his own personality.
But nice is not a prerequisite. It is an assumption as a human being that you are nice.
It's a basic.
That is the bare minimum of acceptable standards to exist in society, is that you can be nice. And if that's the bar, I fucking weep for the species.
It also sucks that like talking about feminism and women's issues in general always inevitably ends up talking about predators and assault and sex. Like it always boils back down to that, you know, and I think that's really sad too, because there's so many other things that women bring to the table now that we're, you know, allowed to, you know, women in STEM, you know, women in music and art and all these other things, the empathy that female doctors are more empathetic to their patients and generally have better ratings than male doctors. Things like that. Like it's just sad to me that like so many times that talks about women always just boils down to assault, and that upsets me, you know.
Have you looked at the study? It was okay. They were talking about why Lord of the Flies was written about a group of men and not a group of women. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the fact that Golding chose boys is because he knew they would descend into chaos, whereas women would form a nurturing society and actually thrive. The fact that going all the way back to, I think that was like what, the early 1900s, there's an airplane crash, mid 1900s, what the fuck ever. Back when that book was written, the fact that even at that point we knew that boys would descend into chaos and women would build each other up, I think says so much about how we understand the benefits of having women in society. You know, sometimes I'll get a customer in who is a little confused and doesn't understand what they've been dealt. Phones are confusing for those who have not grown up with them. Technology is overwhelming for those who have not grown up with them. I've seen a male coworker completely dismiss them and tell them to go on YouTube. Whereas I will take the time and I will work with them, and it is appreciated. I think we cannot discount the empathy of women when it comes to these pictures, the bigger picture of where we are today.
There's a lot of like sci-fi and novels that are just based around like a planet full of women, or was it, I think it was Ursula K. Le Guin wrote a Door into Ocean, and it's like all women or female aquatic beings or something like that. I don't think I've ever read a story that was like just a planet full of men. Like
It would be
they would just
chaos.
and like how would they reproduce? I don't know.
So what you guys are saying is actually brought me to like something I was reading about today when I was like kind of looking up things about feminism. Brigham Young, who was a man, he lived between 1801 and 1877, and he is quoted as saying, hold on, I just want to make sure I get the quote exact. If you educate a man, you educate a man. If you educate a woman, you will educate a generation.
All right.
And so
And
this
that's
is he was a white cisgender man in the 1800s, understanding that women are the baseline of society. Without women, there is nothing. Without women, humanity ends.
Damn.
So it needs to, like, there needs to be more equality, because otherwise the society is going to stop eventually.
and it's like saying women can't be in power because we're too emotional. I think time and time again we prove that that's not fucking true.
Name one war started by a woman. Name a war started
Does
by
the Trojan War count? Because I mean, Helen of
didn't
Troy
start it.
technically.
She
That
didn't
wasn't her
start it.
choice.
That's true.
She just went with someone who was better looking and probably a nicer guy.
Or maybe he wasn't nice.
Mm.
Maybe
was
she just
an
wanted a
asshole.
bad boy.
Spicy.
I can change him.
No, girl,
Oh,
no.
don't bring us into that territory of women's
I know.
emotional labor that we're
Oh,
due to fix men.
I have a list.
It is not my emotional labor to fix you. I have tried to do that a million times. We'll never do that shit again. That is
Cassy, the
not
girl-
my
the-
job.
The guy you and I have both experienced. Did we not try to fix him?
Kaylani too.
Oh, that poor girl.
Is this the blood note?
Yeah, I think. I don't know how you refer to him, Cassie.
I think the
He's
vampire.
referred to on the podcast as the werewolf, I believe, but I call him Blood Note.
That fits a bit better, yeah.
Are we talking about your partner's partner, or are we talking
No,
about...
we're talking about the one that I brought to the Solar Lounge and then
Yeah,
everyone took a
that's the
turn on.
vampire. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
I just didn't like him.
Many did not.
I mean, he worked.
But other than that, he was a
Okay.
fucking mess.
He works is along the lines of he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Stop mentioning it.
No, I don't care what he was like. His equipment did what I needed it to, and that's
Oh,
all he was
that
there
part.
for.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant
Yes.
like, oh, he has a job.
Yeah.
No, like literally his dick did what I needed it to. And that's
For-
all that he was there for.
For me,
He's a
I
pole.
had a problem. John knows this about me. Jenny, at some point, some people have probably known this about me. I always tended to date guys that didn't have jobs or cars, or have friends that didn't have jobs or cars. Like, that was my thing. Like, I took on like the emotional labor for so many fucking people and did all the driving. I paid for everything. I like supported so many broke ass dudes who couldn't even give me good fucking dick in return.
Let's go back to college and beat the shit out of ourselves.
But yeah, we should probably wrap it because this is quite long.
It's been like 2.5 hours.
I am so sorry.
It's
I got
fine.
kicked
We
out of my living
figured
room
there'd be a
because-
lot of content on this. We
Yeah.
expected it. That's why we didn't really set a time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, can I be-
Dead is-
Oh no. Can I just like be honest about, like, John approached me about this last minute and I was super intimidated to meet the both of you because you are other women. And there is that stigma, I think, still like today. And this has helped me so much kind of separate that divide. So like, thank you all so much. Like, you have no idea how much I appreciate it. I'm gonna be finding y'all on Facebook.
Yes.
Cassy, please show off your shirt. You didn't
Ah.
really mention it.
Yes,
might-
I decided to buy a last minute empowered women empower women shirt, and I think that's the part of feminism that gets overlooked a lot of the times, is like that stigma of women are just afraid of other women. And I think, and to this day, I think there's still some women that are like that are just bitchy to other women, and
Yeah.
I think that's like a big part of feminism that really needs work.
I agree.
Because like when I started doing burlesque, I was intimidated by everybody. Because I was like coming into this world of like these beautiful, amazing creatures, and I was like, I don't belong here. I have imposter syndrome really bad for literally everything. And I think that's something that a lot of women experience in a lot of things too, is imposter syndrome. Like, I don't belong.
yeah.
I don't belong at this table. And I
Mhm.
think that's something we all need to fight for. Like, I do belong at this table. I do belong here. And I shouldn't be afraid of other women because it's silly. I mean,
find that like even like you look at another woman who is seemingly so beautiful and so confident, she's got a story. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's why I try not to, or I've tried to like fight past those urges, because no matter what, like everyone's got a story, everyone's human, you know? And if they're a cunt, then fuck them.
like even when I first started doing burlesque, like at that show, the Love Sucks show, the first show I ever saw, I thought Massa was like the most beautiful creature. And then like to see how she is right after a show, like she's just in sweats smoking a
Yeah.
cigarette.
That's my favorite thing about her.
And she's like super nice. I was so intimidated by her. I was like, she's gonna think I'm like an imposter. She's gonna think I'm weird. Like
Not even gonna lie, like, you know, with it being mostly women and femme presenting people doing burlesque, like I really haven't dealt with much like cattiness or drama or anything. But let me tell you, I was in a cover band I was with all dudes, and I was the only girl. I've been in a couple cover bands. That is drama city. You get a bunch of like you know,
how many of them tried to fuck you?
None really, actually. But like, I would usually either like in the one band, I didn't even get like, other than being the singer, I had no voice. Like, I couldn't decide what decisions we made because, like, oh, I'm the girl, I don't really know rock and roll. And then in the second band, they were a little bit older, so they gave me more respect in that way. But at the same time, they were like not used to like a woman. They were the ones who was like, wow, a girl that likes heavy metal. Oh, you know what I mean? Like they like didn't know how to handle themselves. But it's mostly like drama between the guys. It was ridiculous.
Like OTEP, like nothing? Come on.
Yeah, right?
Plenty of women in rock. There's plenty of women in metal. Like,
I guess because maybe they were older and from their generation, like maybe women didn't as much as often take an interest in rock and roll as either a fan or as a performer. You know, like all their girlfriends and wives were like, you know, live, laugh, love. You know what I mean? Which that's how you want to be. That's fine. But they didn't realize like women have interests. You know,
What a shock! Like, we have
no,
interests.
Cookie cutters.
Yeah,
it's
like,
actually funny. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's funny that you talk about the fact that the drama usually comes from men. So my husband and my boyfriend work in the same place. And the amount of gossip they bring home at the end of the day is nothing compared to what I've heard from my wife. It's so true that, like, we're not the only ones who are catty.
And any fight that I've had with a woman has started from a dude. Men try and pit us against each other too. And that's an issue. Like in the Solar Lounge, how many times were like you and I not talking, or me and Kaylani not talking, or like whatever?
Because he convinced us that we were fighting each other because he didn't want to juggle all of us. If he had told me that my day was Thursday and your day was Wednesday and Kaylani was Monday, I'd be like, cool. I'm not monogamous. I don't get jealous. Don't pit me against my friends. Ugh.
Yeah, I could have avoided a lot of drama in my life. But where are the catty ones?
I mean, there are some cunty women out there too.
Oh, for sure.
but it's not like a rule of thumb that we're the drama, we're the crazy, we're the catty. No, that is not a hard and fast rule at all.
I think that everyone has the potential to be an asshole. Everyone has the potential to be a nice person. Everyone has the potential to be catty. Everyone has the potential to rise above. It doesn't matter what your gender, how you identify, what your sexuality is. Everyone has that inside them. So it's just like who you choose and what energy you choose to put out into the universe.
And sometimes you're that way just on that day.
Exactly.
But I mean, maybe you're having a bad day and the other person just doesn't know it, you know?
Tomorrow I will change, and today don't mean a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I just kind of want to normalize being called a bitch isn't a bad thing. If you're calling me bitch, there's usually a reason for that. It's usually because you overstepped your boundaries, and I had to be a bitch.
If I call you a bitch, it's usually the highest form of compliment. The only thing higher is cunt.
You're
I
such
love
a
that
slut.
I love the word cunt. Like, I actually somehow, like, I never even really heard that word until I was maybe like, I don't know, like 17 or 18. Like, I was like a little bit older the first time I heard it. I'm like, I guess because my dad cursed a lot, but he never used that language, you know? But like, so that it doesn't like deeply hurt me when I hear that word. Whereas like maybe if you grow up hearing a bad word, it can, you know, deeply ingrain in you. So, but like, I fucking love that word. I'd like, call me a cunt all day long. It's fine. I'm like, this, like, call me a cunt and the sky is blue, whatever.
John
My
will
mom
say
actually
like,
introduced me to that word. When I got out of reform school, I was mad at my mom and I'd be like, "You're such a bitch," and she'd be like, "Well, you're a cunt," and I didn't know what she meant. I didn't know what that word was. I had to look it up. I had to Google it, guys. And like Cassie and John will attest. Ever since I've used it as like, "Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm a cunt," and that's just kind of been my thing.
Yes.
or it's like, you big slut, good for you.
Oh, if I call you a slut, that's like, I respect you because I also fashioned myself a slut. And I think we're on the same level. Respect.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap it, I think.
Can we
'Cause
dub
My
the
phone's
socials
running out of
over?
battery.
Yes. And my Chinese food got here. Mine and Pat's Chinese food got here about 45 minutes ago, and he hasn't eaten either. So
Girl, go eat.
I'm sure you all saw my husband and puppy run in here before, so.
yeah.
This has been amazing.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you everyone for
Yes.
participating.
I
Cassie and
love this.
Yeah, Jenny and Heather, is really nice to meet both of you. And thank you, Cassy and
Likewise.
John, for having me on.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you for coming. It was nice to meet you, Angelina and Heather.
I love everyone in here. So
Yeah.
Yes.
thanks for having me.
Facebook
I will
Thanks
see
for
friends
y'all on
coming.
forever.
Facebook.
Yeah.
You can watch me shit post all day.
I love
Yes.
shit posting.
I should
Girl,
post
same.
every second.
Love it. Spicy
You're gonna
memes.
see me like 10,000 memes a second. It's okay.
Love it. The
I
dank,
ship it.
spicy memes.
But
All
All right, y'all.
thank y'all.
Bye,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.